All right, evening, everything, and I am super excited to be on here tonight with my good friend Elizabeth Heffner, and we want to talk to you about vision casting. And excuse me, one of the great ways, or one of the things that kind of inspired it for me, was being at Emerald Extravaganza this past week. And what better way to have vision than to be surrounded by people who've had a bigger vision, who have achieved more, so to speak, who've got all these different things going, and to hear from people to pour back into us. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes it feels like we're pouring and pouring and giving and giving and giving. And then when we forget to refill that in some way, then it gets really hard for us to see the vision because we kind of get the life sucked out of us. So it's so important to fill our cups back up in good ways, in positive ways, so we can again, some of the speakers that we had were amazing. Some I'd never even heard of, and some I have heard of. So I just kind of want to share some of the things that I gleaned from some of the things that they talked about and how they relate to vision. So one of the first speakers that we had was this guy. His name was Ben Nemtin. I've never heard of him in my life, but he wrote this book, 100 Things to Do Before You Die. And he and some of his buddies went out and did all of these ridiculous things. And one of the things that he said is if you really want to commit to your dreams, you have to commit 100%. When you do that, it'll never happen, start to fall off of that list. So, I mean, he had anything from shooting basketball with the president to getting someone an artificial limb to, I mean, then he had like more simple things. But there's a ripple effect when you help one person. Every action has a reaction, and it can be positive or negative. You have the power to make a positive ripple. Spreading hope, health, and happiness impacts finances, health, and wellness, enabling others to create their impact on the world. So, for me, one of the big things I like to do is be able to make an impact on others. I mean, we're team impact, by the way. I want to be able to help others, and it isn't about how much money I can have in my bank account because I want to be a gazillionaire and hoard it all for myself. I want to be able to help and share with others and give others hope too. Um, so then he talked about, how do you measure that impact? Life can sometimes disconnect you from that impact. Go back to your why. And if you see, I have my Remember Your Why sweatshirt on today. I thought it was appropriate. Plus, it's cold. Your list helps you refocus back. Stop and focus back on what's important to you, what excites you, or like yourself. Life is pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around, sometimes you miss it. You can kind of have that Ferris Bueller moment. And then you can't serve others unless you serve yourself. You got to put your oxygen mask on first. And what do your people value? You've got to look at that. What about your team? What does your team value? What is their purpose outside of work? Check in with those people, learn those things and grow. I mean, because if you're just preaching and preaching and talking and you're not listening to your people, you lose that connection, and that connection is so valuable. Human connection, we all thrive on that. Even us introverts, we still like it. And there's some people I know. Yes, Steve, I am talking to you. Yes. So then one of the other things he was talking about is writing out your steps. So in casting your vision and everything, you've got to write down those things. Have it clear. If you see it, you're 42% more likely to achieve that. Encourage your people to do that as well. So he is our new leader. He's amazing. And we saw him at the pool. He came down and hung out in the pool too. He's a really personable guy. He loves his wife, loves his family. And those are always super, really important things for me to see too, is they're not these corporate untouchables, or our diamonds and other jewels are not these untouchables. They're like real normal people too. So he said, in order to achieve your dreams, you have to be 100% in. Think beyond plexus. We can't build a legacy business without people who dream big. So sometimes I've had people who start off with this and they put up one post and they didn't magically get 800 people to join them. Duh. It's some people magically get that to happen, and they're amazing, and that's great, but it's not consistent. So if you put up one post and then you threw in the towel, duh, you weren't successful. You didn't put jack squat into it. So that was what you returned. So make sure that you're casting that vision bigger with people, that it takes a little longer than that. And there's so many shakeups in the industry right now. You got bankrupt industry restructuring everywhere, for love. That's been around forever, right? But they didn't have things strategically set up. Plexus is debt free. We're committed to what we're doing here. He stood up in front of us. No private equity is telling Plexus what to do. The buck stops with Tara Robinson. 10% of all credit card debt right now is delinquent, and 1 in 5 credit card holders are at or above their limit. We have an opportunity to change that for people, for something that people use on an everyday basis. It's a monthly consumable. We have the opportunity to create our own path forward, or are we letting the outside world do it for us? So, sorry, I'm talking a lot here, Elizabeth, but these are things that I picked out. Okay, then Amber Miller, you guys, she always is amazing. She has wonderful things to say, and she has been very honest up on her business. And, you know, 99% of people have. It isn't always a steady trajectory up in a month, in a year, in a couple of years. But if you look at a 10-year span, let's look at that. Let's look at that overall span for trending up. Or if it hasn't trended up, what have you done differently? What could you do differently? Have you been coachable, teachable? Have you listened to your people? Or have you just talked at them? So those are some things that we can all learn and grow from. So mindset shift. You guys, jet lag is real. Have I been playing it small? Have the fears, doubts, and insecurities been louder than the gratitude I would have allowed myself to succeed? Ooh. Don't bury your gifts and talents in the sand, but allow them to multiply. Then she also talked about shifting to a gold under gold strategy. So instead of looking at, let's make $300 this month, which is great, that's awesome, but look on people's emotions. How would you feel if you didn't have to count every penny on your grocery list? How would you feel if your kid asked you, Mom, my friends are going to the movies tonight. Can I go with them? And you don't have to tell them no. Or how would you feel if you got to be able to donate money to something that was going on, you know, and Thanksgiving time is coming up. There's a lot of needy families. What if you could sponsor a family for Thanksgiving? How would you feel if you could do those things? So it's not just about the $300. It's how would you feel if you're able to do the things that you wouldn't be able to do if you had that money available? Or Leah Pearson had a good thing up today. She's talking about how many people wish they could homeschool, but they don't have the time and money to be able to walk away from their jobs to be able to do it. And I'm not saying you have to walk away from your job, but what if you had that extra money? So maybe you didn't have to work quite as much, or maybe you could take a couple of days off, or maybe you could stagger your schedule a little differently and be there more for your kids. And I can tell you, as my kids are in 8th grade and 11th grade now, it's nuts. It has gone fast, and I have missed a lot that I wish I could have been more involved in years ago. So those regrets are a booger, but we just move forward and we share on those experiences with others. So maybe they don't have those negative experiences, right? Then the 90-day rule. Anything you implement is going to take 90 days to see results. That goes with our products. That goes with reaching out to others. That goes with team growth. It goes with all of that. It goes with our own personal growth. You know, I don't go to the gym today and walk out tomorrow and go, well, I'm not going back because I'm not buff. You got to give it a few months, you guys. We're no different. We grow all of those ways. So leading with inspiration and recognition is really interesting. So sometimes people are like, I can't be successful. I don't know the systems. I don't know how to do these things. I don't know where to look in the back office. I don't know these things. Garbage, garbage, garbage. You guys, it's garbage. Lead with helping others learn and grow. Lead with the inspiration. Lead with positivity. Lead with, oh my goodness, you've been so consistent all this week getting your water in. Or, you know what? You did a really great job putting up that one post, and look how many people commented or liked it. You are creating some really great things here. Let's capitalize on that. How do you feel when you see people smile at you? How do you feel when you get your check and you go, honey, let's go out to dinner instead of going, man, let's pull something from the freezer because we're on the bottom of the barrel here. Those are little things that mean a lot to people, which goes along with energy. You don't get paid for the amount of time you put into this business. You can spend hours and hours making beautiful reels and graphics and all of that stuff, but your energy and putting things in and talking to people, that's where it comes from. And if your energy is this frantic, I gotta get this done, I gotta do that, you have no coordination, you have no plan, you don't know who you reached out to or when or where or any of that, people feel that and they're not going to be organized either. And then soon you have mass chaos, and mass chaos isn't sustainable. And mass chaos is your vision, or is it consistent and clear and all of that stuff? So those are some things. I got just a couple more things, Elizabeth, I promise. Jordan Roddenberry, help people find their red dot. And where this is knowing where they're at on the map. You can't help people get on a boat if they don't know where they're at and you don't know where you're going. So find out where people are at, where they want to be. Look at not only your vision for those people, but what their vision is and where they see themselves and how you can get there together. Then Alec Clark, I love him. So he's hilarious. If you have goals, what are you willing to sacrifice to achieve it? So, you know what? Elizabeth and I are whooped. We have jet lag. We're confused. We went to work today and we're still on here because we love our people. We love this business. We're willing to sacrifice going to bed right now because we want this for all of you and we want this for us. So figure out what your why is and go after your dreams. Focus. What do the things, what do you want to do versus having to do? So you the dishes versus, you know what, I'm so thankful I had food to put on my table and I have the dishes to wash. Or, you know what, I gotta hop on team call. You know what? Oh my goodness, I am so thankful we have a team of support to be able to pour in. So looking at some of those little different things, and have you gone far enough? Are other people's priorities diverting you or holding you back? Those little voices from people, which sometimes are your own, or sometimes it's family, or sometimes it's work on the internet who are negative. Ignore them. Refocus, begin again, stay the course. It's much easier coming up. Life is a reflection of your focus. Stay the course and follow through. It's the feeling, not the title, that creates confidence. So another little good quote: spectators don't get a say in the validity of your dreams. They're your dreams. You get to make them. With a renewed focus, the way back up may not be pretty, but it's cleared and more rewarding. So I just think it doesn't matter where you're at right now. And if you're feeling awesome, great, grow with that. If you're feeling discouraged, that's okay too. And that's a great reflection. Write down the things you've been discouraged about and why and what you've done. Talk to your leader. You can change them. Nothing is unchangeable. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to my lovely friend, Elizabeth.
Oh my goodness, that was so good, Jackie. So many great points and really good reflections from what we learned on our vacation here. Plexus has to give us some training so that it's considered a work trip. And the thing is it doesn't even feel like work because they are really pouring into us, spoiling us so that we can come back and pour into you and be rejuvenated and rested after we recover from the jet lag. Anyway, we would be like Jackie and her husband and my husband, the four of us be hanging out and going, I'm like, can we just go to bed? And I'd look and it was like 7:30. I'm like, we can't go to bed at 7:30. Like I'll be up at 3:30 every single morning. And I'm trying not to wake up my husband. So I'm like frozen. I sat out on the deck the balcony a couple times in the dark like reading and on my phone and just like in the dark though, like it was confusing. So anyway, we are here to definitely pour into you. And a couple of things, Ben Nemitz, he really, really talked about passion. So he was in a rough spot and he had to rediscover his own passion or discover his passion because he was quite young and went through like this whole like depression, anxiety phase. And I think too, like I reflect even back on when I retired from the hospital and then I was home and when my kids were busy, like when we had sports and stuff, it was great. And when my kids' sports season ended and I was home alone all day long and I didn't really have to be anywhere except to pick them up, it was not good for me. It was not good at all. Like it was too isolating for me. It was too not enough people to talk to and all my workers are working. Y'all are working your job. So I couldn't even talk to you. And I'm like, well, how do I find people that aren't working all day? Because all my friends have been people that have been working all day, right? And so I ended up bouncing back into some PT that part-time, which has led to back to working every day, but it doesn't even feel like a big deal because I've been doing it a long time and I'm with kids and I love kids and you give me some kids and I'm happy. I had a kid today tell me, cutest little button, this will break your heart. And he said, my old mom beat me up. My old mom beat me. He's 9 years old. He actually was by his own mother and he has a new mom. So I feel that I'm like, I just have to hug you. Like, I'm here to hug you. I'm here to pour into you. I'm like, you are a good boy. You are so strong. Like, it's incredible. This kid is incredible, right? And so we have these excuses of I'm tired or I don't know who to talk to or I'm just so busy. Like just get out of stop because there's people so much worse than us, right? Number one. So anyway, our passions then breed more passion. It's just like discipline breeds more discipline. It's like work breeds more work. It's like when we have infants and those babies sleep and sleep begets sleep. Like all of these things tie into each other. And it's okay that you love your job or that you feel called to your job right now, because Plexus has allowed me to shift to a job that I really love. And it gives me this passion to be around people and fun coworkers. And I still get to do my Plexus because I can. It's not that big of a deal, right? We can do more than we think we can. So thinking of others, I also think too, like, what if we were working for a cause? Like, what if I said, hey, I'm thinking of doing this in October, maybe I'll do it in November, but just saying, hey, like every bonus that comes through my business this month, it like new order. So any levels 1 through 7, a new order, anything I get pay points on, any new order I get this month, that amount of money is going to go to a ministry that I support, right? Like how much differently would I work if I'm like declaring that this paycheck is going to a ministry? What if we thought of this as, okay, this paycheck is going to my kids' college fund, or this paycheck is going towards our new kitchen. Jason and I did that for a long time. We saved up a ton of money so we could redo our kitchen. We bought brand new appliances all over the house. We did some stuff that really needed to be done because we were working for this cause. And I think even beyond our own circumstance, beyond our own, like, I need a new appliance, but what can I work towards that's really going to feel that I'm giving in, and how differently are we going to work? Like, are these vacations amazing to work for? Yes, they are. And I think you should be absolutely working for a vacation, because the way the vacations are structured is you're earning a paycheck and you're earning strong business and a strong duplicatable business along the way. So the way it's structured, right? And so we definitely should be working for those things. But I think beyond yourself and just think, okay, 50% of what I earn this month is going to go to this ministry or something. How differently would you be working? I like that Sabrina really called out a lot of stuff because I get so busy. I'm like, oh gosh, I didn't post today. Why am I gonna post? I'm like, okay, Elizabeth, no more excuses. Like when I make my smoothie in the morning or make my coffee, I need to just be on my stories talking. Today was really rough, so there was no like talking. There was just trying to survive and get out the door. But there's that. And I think too, like, and definitely the energy, like Jackie was talking about, the energy that we're putting in is what's important. You really are pushing a snowball up the hill until you get these skills learned, until you get your IPA down, until you just really put yourself in this disciplined state. And it doesn't always feel as rewarding until you have that more steady business coming in, right? It's just the slight edge. It's easy to do the things and it's easy not to do the things. So easy, if we can just be a little more disciplined, a little more consistent, it's going to be tenfold in our business. And those goals are not as far off as you think. When we broke down this cruise contest, that a brand new person could earn it this month with 11 joins. And frankly, if we just worked really hard and got even half of 11, get 5 or 6 joins, that puts us through this big jump start of earning the cruise, right? And so these goals that we're setting for ourselves, they really are not as far out as we think that they are. And things can change very quickly when you're being consistent with doing the business actions. Ed Milet podcast, I was listening to his podcast like a couple of weeks before I left for Hawaii. And one of the things that he talked about was breaking your day into like a mini day, 3 mini days. So 6 a.m. until noon. And then you have your timer set, you reevaluate, and then you have your day from noon until 6 p.m. And then you reevaluate, and then you have your 6 p.m. until midnight. And so obviously you can shift that. I feel that I have 3 days. I have my morning routine is a day, getting up, getting to the gym, getting my lunch packed, seeing my kids for a little while. That's a day. Getting in my stories real quick. That's a day. Having some time with the Lord. That's all in that first day. Then I have my work day. That's just work. That's what I'm doing. I have friends to talk to when I'm there, right? And then my last day is family again. So that my last day is kind of 2, like family, and then another chunk of Plexus business. I try to do that at my lunch break. That's my plan. That's the goal. Long story with all of the work shifting, but that's the plan. And so I can have family, half a day of family and half a day of Plexus, and still go to bed at a decent time. And I know y'all are busy. I got 4 kids. We have different busy now. We have kids fighting in the back seat because they're pre-teening and teenager and they can't keep themselves together. So you think that you have it crazy in the car when they're like, Mom, can I have this? And da, 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 and he's touching me and he's looking at me, and all the little things when they're little, we'll wait till they're like smacking each other with their computers. It's super fun. So don't think I'm just in the car, not being engaged with my kids. It's still, I'm being engaged with my kids. So anyway, just thinking about how you can break your day up and challenge yourself to do a little bit more in those time frames, right? And what that looks like. Is this your relaxing self-care workout, cook your meals time, and this is your family time, and this is your Plexus time / real work time, whatever, you can figure that out for yourselves. I also, the last thing I wanted to share, because we're going to run out of time, is that I talked to Christy Jex, she's a diamond, and I was like, trying not to be that jewel that was like, tell me your biggest tip to every diamond and every upper jewel that I met. Because I felt like, and it probably was just me, but I was on vacation. Y'all, you saw how much I posted and didn't post. I have never been on vacation like that before in my life. I'm always have these goals. I'm going to get up early. I'm going to read extra. I'm going to journal. I'm going to do this. And I have more goals on vacation than when I do at home. And then I don't always achieve them, but I'm always thinking I have this great plan for vacation. I went in with some books, my Bible app on my phone, my planner / notebook. Did I read? Not really, only on the plane. Did I journal? Not really. Did I read my Bible? Yes. Did I sit and do nothing? Absolutely. And it's just been a year. This whole entire last year has been wild. And so I got done with, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go home. Now I'm ready. I'm ready to go home, ready to see my kids, ready to have my schedule. have my routine, get really consistent with working again, right? And hold on, I had a thought. Anyway, so I maybe reflected this on other people. Like, I don't want to be that person that's just bugging every jewel I run into, which is fine. Like, it's totally fine to do that. Jewels expect it. They want you to talk to them. That's why they're there. If people come up to me and say, hey, I have a question, like, how do you do this? How do you do that? I am more than happy, but my passion, a lot of my passion also comes in teaching. I love teaching, I have found. So I welcome it. That refuels me. But anyway, I was like, okay, but end up at the breakfast table with Christy Jax and her husband. And I'm like, so tell me your biggest tip to get to Diamond. And she really was like, ask lots of questions. So this is all of you therapists or parents out there who it's very easy to say, oh, your shoulder hurts. Okay, well, this is what we need to do to help your shoulder get better. Are you on board with that? And of course, they're going to say yes, because you're in a professional setting, and they're not going to be like, no. And if they do say no, then you work through that in the next 10 minutes and then you move on and they're bought in, right? Like, it's pretty easy to get people on board when you're in this professional realm. But with your friends and your family, or even maybe strangers you're meeting on the internet, sounds so funny. Then you have to really help them see that this is a valid option for them, is what she was really getting at. And so like, when someone says, oh, I don't want to do plexus with you, don't talk to me about it, it's almost like, fine, we'll just be friends. And she said this happened to her. So this is what happened to her. One of her girls was like, they were just friends. She just was friends with her. She never brought up plexus. I mean, did she drink her pink drink in front of her? Did she drive her Lexus in front of her? Yeah, absolutely. And finally this girl's like, okay, I'm ready. Tell me what you're doing. I want what you have. Because she saw. And so she was like, well, what do you mean? What about my life do you want? And she didn't, because what's your first knee jerk reaction? Mine's like, okay, let's go. Let's get you ordered and posting. And she's backed up and was like, what about my life? What is it that you're dreaming of? Well, what if you were off on a random Tuesday? What would you do? Who would you hang out with? So just really asking more questions, asking people more questions so that they're more bought in, so that they're willing to do the work, and you're not dragging, because we can't drag people. But just really asking better questions. I'm like, how did you learn to ask all these questions? What book did you read? She's like, it's just me and being curious. It's really being curious about their life and getting them to answer. So those are things we can be thinking about and reflecting on as well. There was one more thing I was going to say about all that, but I don't remember what it was. So my notes are kind of wonky over here. So anyway, just really, again, making it about other people and not being afraid to, you do have to gauge and read people, like, hey, you should do this with me, like, invite them in. Oh, that's the last thing I was going to say is, what do you remember, like, the first thought you had when you thought, I want to do that business, or I want extra money, or I want this for my family? Like, what was that tipping point? What was that very first thought? Because, like, Jackie, I would mention stuff to, but she really had to see it for herself. I didn't push and shove and drag. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a great post. Like, you should post this, like, encouraged her. And I'm like, have you ever thought about no, we're both PTs. We're both too busy. We don't need money. I mean, they're very smart with their money, very good with their money, like, very disciplined, doing really great things, right? So she didn't need the money. But when she did see, oh, I could actually make money at this and not have to be a PT, then it flipped the scale for her, right? I simply saw it. I just saw it. So don't discount people that could be just seen. Like, I really just saw people going on these trips, going to convention, getting their Lexuses, becoming jewels, going Emerald, going Diamond. And I'm like, how much? Oh, wait, I see this pay scale. Like, well, they're posting and they're talking to people. Well, I want to do that too. Like, I just thought, I want to do that too, and I can do that. And then I had already been involved with book club. Like, that was the first thing that I ever did, was get involved with a John Maxwell book. So there's people like me too, who are like, yeah, I'll do that. Let's go. And then there's other people that are like, no, I'll never post about it. I feel bad that you are posting about plexus. Like people really feel like that. I'm like, no, that was never me. And it's good for me to hear that too, right? Like we were at breakfast and these two jewels were behind us. And the one girl's like, I felt so bad that she kept posting about plexus. Like I couldn't believe it. And I was so worried what people were going to think of her and blah, 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 blah. And now she's a jewel too. Like she ended up posting and doing all the things, but she was so nervous about it. And there's just this whole gamut of scale. But look at where we all were. We were all in Hawaii. We were all earning these things because we all overcame whatever it is. And we're still learning and growing to overcome that next thing. Like Sabrina said, if you aren't picturing yourself as a 5-star diamond on the stage, well, then forget it. Right? Like you have to have that in mind. And if that's not your goal, that's fine. But know what your goal is. And I would say know what your goal is and quadruple it and then go for that, right? Like just go for it because it really is closer than you think. It's comes down to, are you talking to enough people? Are you being consistent? Are you keeping track in your planner? Are you being willy-nilly about it, like Jackie said? And I've done it both ways. I've been very organized and I've been very willy-nilly. And guess what? It's way better when I'm organized. So there's that. The last thing I wanted to tell you guys is that I talked to Fallon a couple weeks ago before Hawaii, and she had corporate run a whole report on her whole downline. And she said our team, my team and under, has really good retention. So really good retention. So good job. Like remember that you guys are doing a great job with that. Like corporate, no one expects us to have 100% retention. Our retention's over 80%. And so anything over 50%, they think is good, which me, I'm like 50. That's not very good, but 80, I'm like 80 is good. We can do 80. I think she was like 83. Our retention's about 83%, which is awesome. So keep that in mind, like feel empowered with that our customer care, talking to people, using that system does work. And if you don't have people responding well to those messages, then just like, hey, I haven't heard from you. I see you went to this and that. Like, talk to me. I want to hear how you're doing. Like, just call that out and get them back engaged. Make sure you're using those 3-way chats. They're super powerful to have that third-party validation. And if your upline isn't seeing those chats, like say, hey, jump in these 3 chats for me real quick. Like just give a quick reminder because stuff gets buried, and let us know if we miss something. That's why we're here, is we can go back and get in them. So anyway, that's what I have to say. Jackie, you got anything else?
I guess the only thing I forgot to say was, picture yourself, it's 5 o'clock on a Wednesday, 5 years from now. What are you doing? Think about what you're doing and where you're at and dream about what that is. And I hardly think any of us are going to think negatively about what we want to be doing at that point, right? So think about where you want to be 5 years from now on that Wednesday night at 5 o'clock, and what that looks like for you. And then let's work on getting you there. So super exciting. I'm always empowered by these. Love talking to you guys. And yeah, that's all I've got for you.
I will be at some sporting event in 5 years on a Wednesday at 5.
My kids will both be graduating from high school.
I
New
won't.
empty nesters. That is insane for me to think of. So, I think about what I want to be doing with Damon, what I want to be able to do with our kids. I want to be able to go visit them or help them or do whatever they're doing and, give more freely. It's super exciting and it's not that far away. So, eek.
You need
So,
to have another kid.
yeah, that's not happening. So, yeah, on that note, we're not dreaming about that. You guys have a great night. We'll talk to you later.